Hello and welcome developers. My name is Shay and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today should be the final video in a multi-part series where we're going to create a JavaFX form, get the data, and then do the validation for the data input. So far though, in video 1 we created the form, as you can see right here, and then this code behind us. In video 2, we got the data being output to the controller, so that way we can have access to it, and then output to our command line here. And then as you can see, so we can type in some stuff. And then submit, and then as we submit, this information gets passed out, like I said, down to the command line down here on the bottom right here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to start, and we're going to do our validation. So we're going to come over here to our project, and then we are going to go ahead, and we don't need this user anymore, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here for now. But we do want to create a new Java class, and we're going to call it validate. Make that a little bigger there. There we go. And within our validate class, we're going to start writing our methods that's going to allow us to act on our input. So we don't need anything right now as far as like fields or anything, but we do need to start creating a set of our methods. We're going to make it public static boolean, because that's what we want to return, a boolean. Required text field, in which we're going to pass it a text field. Oh, not AWT though. Make sure you're passing it the JavaFX.scene control, and I'm just going to call this TF for text field. And that's the very first part. Go ahead and return true, so that way get rid of that error right there, because like I said, we are needing to return a Boolean value, which is true or false. And we're using static here because that means we don't have to initialize our validate class and create an object with it in order to use the required text field method that we just wrote. If I was to get rid of this and just make it public Boolean, I would then have to instantiate a validate class before I could use the required text field method. And I don't want to have to do that. I just want to be able to use it as I want to. So the first thing that we're going to do is just get the data. Right, so I can just do tf.getText, and that will allow me to just get the data and output it to the screen. But first I need to connect it to my controller. So we're going to go down here and actually just comment all this out, and we're going to type in validate dot, let me make this a little bigger, there we go, validate dot what did I call that, required text field, that's right. Validate.required text field, and then we're going to pass in the text field, which is name, which is what we got right here, this name text field. And now we should be passing that data to our validate class so that we can then go through and validate it. So let's go ahead and try that. We'll type in my name, and there we go. It shows up right there. Awesome. So it's working as intended so far. So back to our validate class. Now we need to test to make sure that we're actually getting data and not like an empty string or a null value. So go ahead and erase this. So I'm going to do if tf.getText does not equal null, and not tf dot get text is empty. Now we're doing this is empty part right here rather than like doesn't equal an empty string or something like that, because we're messing with a string. So even if we had an empty string, we still have a string. But this is just the way you want to do it with Java, because otherwise you're going to get some feedback that you're not really expecting, and it's not going to do exactly how you wanted it to. So if that's true, if tf.getText does not equal null and tf.getText is not empty, that means we got data. So what we can do is just return true. And do else return false. We can put a little output here saying the value is required. All right, now let's go ahead and run that again. So I'm going to go ahead and submit, and see down here it says the value is required. And if I actually input something here and then submit, it doesn't say that anymore. It's just giving me no, it's just basically just returning true right here like it should be, which is fine. All right, so what if though you want the user to have some kind of feedback besides something popping up in the command line that they're probably not going to see? Well, in order to do that, we're going to use a little bit of CSS. So we're going to go to back to our project, and we're going to go to form.css. And I've already written it here, but it's basically we're going to create a class that's called fail. We're going to give it the border width, border color, border style, and a border radius of 2, red, solid, and 2. That way, whenever we tell the class, or well, tell the input that we're getting the data from that it failed, we can tell it to apply this class to that data. So we're going to continue on. We're going to go back to our validate. So if it fails, which is this one right here, we can do tf dot get style class, and it's going to get all the style classes that it's currently being applied to that input field. And we may excuse me there, a little bit of a brain fart. And we may want to, well, so the style classes that are getting applied may not be ones that we've applied ourselves, so we can actually check to see what kind of style classes are applied. But we're not going to do that for right now. You guys can do that on your own. It's real simple to do. But we're going to do .add, and we want to add that this fail class to our input. So we're probably going to want to do that a few times throughout here, but we'll just do fail for right now. We could use like a constant or a final variable, something like that, to get that going. So let's check to see if this works. All right, so we're over here. We're going to submit, and bam, that works great, actually, better than I expected. Now, if we hit Shay on my name and then we hit submit, we still have this issue where it stays red even though I've already went by and now that input is valid. So we need to check to see if it's valid, because if there's an issue, I'm going to play this again real quick, where, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to output get style class, so that way you guys can see whenever this fails, this style class fail is going to get added to it and it's additive. It's not like once it's on there, it won't get copied back over again and again and again. That's exactly what happens, is it gets copied over again and again and again. So you can see down here, I just spammed that button. So we have text input and text field, which are two things that have been added on with JavaFX, not by us. But then we have the fail class 3 times. So even if I was to go over here and put in my name and try and submit it, and we had code that got rid of this, you'd have to do it a few times in order for it to finally remove all the fails. So what we want to do then is check to see if that class has been added. And you'll notice here that as we're outputting our classes, it's outputting them in this kind of like array notation here. So what we could do is go if not tf.getStyleClass dot contains, so we can see if this is in it within the string anywhere. See if it contains fail, and if it does, we don't have to do anything. Or if it does not, we want to add tf.getStyleClass.add fail. So that way, and make sure that we're only going to add the fail class once, and then now we got to work on removing it. So if this is true, we're just going to do tf.getStyleClass.remove, and we're just going to pass it fail, and that's pretty much it. Let's see how let's make sure it works. All right, so I'm going to make it fail a whole bunch, so that way, we'll see if it's adding that or not. So we'll figure that out just by putting in my name, hitting submit, and boom, that red border that we told it to add is now gone, and we can move on to the birthday. So let's write one more. We're going to do one for the birthday. So we're going to create another method here. We're going to call it required date field, and we're going to call it, or we need to pass it the date picker with the JavaFX scene control. We don't need the date picker skin, just date picker. I'm going to do DP for date picker, and then with the date picker, if you remember from video 2, we get its value and set by not doing .getText, but by doing .getValue. So we could just output the value here, dp.getValue, and then get the value of the text. We don't necessarily need to do that currently, but we do need to return true to get rid of that error for right now. But basically, we kind of just want to do what we've done up here. We want to make sure we're giving it to, we're going to make sure that we're giving it to, or adding the class to the input, the date picker input, whenever it fails, and then removing it whenever it doesn't. So up here, we're testing if it's not null and if it's not empty. Down here, we're going to do it just a little differently. It'll work the same way up here too, but I just want to show you guys a different way. We can do if dp.getValue equals null, because if you pass a no data within the date picker, it returns a null. Where if you pass no data within the text field, it returns an empty string. So make sure that you got just keep that in mind. So if you're just trying to use doesn't not equal null, and you're getting some kind of weird it's working when it shouldn't be, or not working when it should be, just take a look at that, because that could be your issue. Now, so if it equals to null, we want to check against if not dp.getStyleClass.contains the fail CSS class. We're going to add it. get stock class dot add, and we're gonna add fail. All right. Otherwise, we're gonna also return false, and then else dp dot get stock class dot remove fail. And then I'm actually just gonna, it'd be fine staying there, but I'm just gonna put it here and return false. And now we need to go back to our controller and call this required date field and call it validate dot required date field. Pass it the date picker, which was birthday, and that's it. Let's go ahead and run this, check it out, make sure everything's working. All right, so go ahead and submit them both. There we go. We have a couple of values. You can see right here where it says null and null. And what we need to do then is input our name, a date, and hit submit. And now we're getting that date, but you'll notice that both the red borders went away, indicating that everything's working fine. Alright guys, that is it for this video. There's definitely more though that we could dive into as far as creating validating input. But that's basically the gist of it. You want to get the value, you want to check to make sure value is there, and if not, you want to just display some information to the user to make sure that they get why it's not working, like I said, as intended. But if you guys are interested, I will continue this one step further and do all the different validations that you could possibly do as far as with the different inputs. I said, only if you guys are interested. If I'm not going to see any feedback, I'm going to keep pushing on and keep moving forward with more videos coming out talking about a few different things. But still, until then, you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you guys are working on, all that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear from you. So you guys are awesome. I hope y'all take care, and I'll see you in a future video.